Every single day for nearly 9 years, Adolf Hitler received injections from his personal physician. Not just vitamins or simple medications, but a staggering cocktail of 74 different substances, including morphine-based opioids, methamphetamine, and experimental hormones extracted from animal glands. By 1944, he was receiving multiple injections daily, sometimes halting his personal train mid-journey just to get his fix. The man who controlled the fate of millions was himself controlled by a chemical dependency that may have shaped the course of World War II. This is the hidden story of Hitler's drug addiction, how it started, what he was really taking, and how it might have affected the decisions that led to catastrophic defeat. In the early 1930s, as Hitler rose to power, he appeared vigorous and energetic, delivering hours-long speeches without notes and maintaining a punishing schedule of rallies and meetings. But behind the public image, he was suffering. Chronic stomach cramps plagued him constantly, leaving him doubled over in pain after meals. He struggled with insomnia, sometimes going days with only a few hours of sleep. He complained of excessive flatulence, which embarrassed him during important meetings. His skin broke out in persistent rashes that no treatment seemed to cure. Hitler consulted multiple doctors, but none could provide lasting relief. He tried special diets, becoming an increasingly strict vegetarian. He eliminated alcohol and tobacco, preaching their dangers to his inner circle. But the pain persisted, and his frustration grew. By 1936, he was desperate for a solution, any solution, that would allow him to function at the level his ambitions demanded. He needed someone who could promise results when others had failed, someone willing to try unconventional methods that traditional medicine wouldn't touch. That's when Heinrich Hoffmann, Hitler's personal photographer, made an introduction that would change everything. Hoffmann had been suffering from debilitating stomach problems when he visited Dr. Theodor Morell, a Berlin physician known for experimental treatments. Morell had cured him quickly, using methods other doctors dismissed as quackery. Hoffmann, grateful and impressed, insisted Hitler meet this miracle worker. In 1936, the meeting took place, and Morell made a bold promise. He could cure Hitler's ailments, where all others had failed. Morell's approach was unconventional from the start. He prescribed massive doses of vitamins, far exceeding normal therapeutic levels. He introduced Mutaflor, an experimental probiotic made from a particular strain of E. coli bacteria that was barely tested at the time. Within days, Hitler's stomach cramps began to ease. A persistent leg rash that had bothered him for years started to fade. To Hitler, this seemed like proof of Morell's extraordinary abilities. He immediately appointed Morell as his personal physician, bringing him into his inner circle at the Berghof estate. But what started as vitamins and probiotics quickly evolved into something far more concerning. Morell began introducing stronger substances, always framed as necessary for Hitler's health and performance. The injections became daily rituals, sometimes multiple times per day. Hitler's trust in Morell was absolute, even as other doctors in his entourage began expressing alarm at what the physician was administering. When they raised concerns, Hitler dismissed them outright, unwilling to doubt the man who had relieved his suffering. The real trouble began with two substances that would dominate Hitler's final years: Eukodal and Pervitin. Eukodal was a morphine-derivative opioid, similar to modern oxycodone, originally developed as a painkiller. It was highly effective at eliminating discomfort, but it came with a severe risk: physical dependency. Morell began administering it to Hitler regularly, claiming it was necessary for managing his chronic pain. What he didn't emphasize, or perhaps didn't care about, was that the Führer was developing an addiction. Pervitin was even more concerning. It was methamphetamine in pill form, marketed throughout Germany as an energy booster and performance enhancer. German soldiers received it to stay alert during long marches and night operations. Truck drivers used it to fight fatigue. And Morell gave it to Hitler to maintain his punishing schedule of meetings, speeches, and military briefings. The drug provided intense focus and eliminated the need for sleep, at least temporarily. But the crashes were brutal, and the long-term effects on mental stability were severe. Hitler's dependency on these substances grew steadily. By the early 1940s, he was receiving injections before every major speech, every important meeting, every military conference. His staff noticed the pattern. Before the injection, Hitler would seem tired, irritable, even withdrawn. After Morell's visit, he would transform, becoming animated, energetic, and intensely focused. The change was so dramatic that some aides began timing important requests to coincide with the post-injection period when Hitler was most receptive. But the physical toll became impossible to hide. By 1943, Hitler's hands had developed a noticeable tremor, particularly his left hand, which he often tried to conceal by clasping his hands behind his back or gripping objects tightly. His posture deteriorated, his spine curving forward into a permanent stoop. His skin took on a grayish pallor, and dark circles appeared permanently under his eyes. He aged rapidly, looking far older than his mid-50s. Those who hadn't seen him in months were shocked by his appearance. The psychological effects were equally disturbing. Hitler had always been prone to rage, but his outbursts became more frequent and more irrational. His paranoia intensified to the point where he trusted almost no one, constantly suspecting betrayal from his generals and advisors. His decision-making became increasingly erratic, marked by sudden reversals and refusal to accept reality. When presented with bad news from the fronts, he would fly into rages, blaming incompetent generals rather than accepting strategic problems. Some historians now believe Hitler's drug dependency may have directly influenced critical military decisions. During the Battle of Stalingrad in 1942–43, Hitler refused to allow the encircled Sixth Army to retreat, insisting they fight to the last man, despite the impossible situation. Over 300,000 German soldiers were killed or captured in a defeat that marked the turning point of the war. Was this decision influenced by the grandiose thinking and impaired judgment that methamphetamine can produce? After the D-Day invasion in June 1944, Hitler was convinced the main Allied landing would come at Calais and held crucial tank divisions back from Normandy for weeks. His generals disagreed, but Hitler's certainty was absolute. Was his reasoning affected by the cognitive distortions that long-term stimulant use creates?